Hello again, and welcome to this week's case update from the Liberty Justice Center. I'm Randon Steinhauser, joined once again by the president of Liberty Justice Center, Jacob Huebert. Jacob, thanks for being here.
Of course.
All right, so just over a week ago, we had a monumental ruling from the Supreme Court based on the Students for Fair Admissions case, which stated that organizations, specifically higher academic institutions, cannot use racial discrimination when doing admissions policies. And this is something that has been in the news ever since. There's an ongoing conversation about it. And this is one example where we've seen in the past there might be a favorable ruling from the Supreme Court, but yet that doesn't mean the work is done. And so, one of the things that Liberty Justice Center is doing is making sure that, first and foremost, the law is upheld. And second, when there are individuals who believe that their constitutional rights are being infringed upon, the Liberty Justice Center wants to come alongside them and support them in this effort. So, Jacob, LJC put out a statement about an effort regarding contact that your organization has made with these organizations and schools across the country. Can you give us an update on that?
That's right. We sent letters to over 150 medical schools advising them that they need to update their own admissions policies to conform with this decision. The Supreme Court's decision was in a case against both Harvard College and the University of North Carolina, so it applied directly to them. But the principles, the court stated, will apply to all colleges and universities and should also apply to all government entities across the country. And so we put these medical schools in particular on notice that they need to make sure that their policies align with this new decision. And no doubt, most of their policies that they've had don't align with this because we know that race discrimination has been pervasive all across academia for a long time.
And this is a great example, too, where LJC has been involved on the forefront. I know there was an amicus brief that was submitted. And now, again, taking that next step following the ruling of putting these medical schools on notice. In some ways, that's the next step in this journey. But how are we also making sure that individuals who feel like they have been discriminated against are able to have representation from LJC?
Well, at the Liberty Justice Center, we represent people whose constitutional rights are violated. So if anyone is in a position where they believe that they have been discriminated against under one of these policies at a medical school, they should contact us to talk about representing them to challenge that. Or if someone believes they're being put through a discriminatory process, maybe they haven't got a decision yet, well, they should contact us too. And of course, the medical schools are just the start. That was an obvious one to send out letters to them because it's very important. We want medical schools to be admitting people based on their qualifications, the likelihood that they're going to end up being good doctors and not on anything else. But of course, we know not just in academia, but at all levels of government, you have this kind of race discrimination going on through not only student admissions, but also hiring, also awards of government contracts, also awards of government licenses. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said that their state had just taken steps to legalize cannabis in some capacity. And as part of that, there would be only so many licenses granted. And how are they going to distribute these? Well, some of them are going to be distributed on the basis of race. And so governments have been implementing this just everywhere they can. So there's going to be a whole lot of work to do to follow up on this decision and make sure that the promise of racial non-discrimination, which we were supposed to have since the 14th Amendment was enacted, is actually delivered everywhere in the country for everyone.
Those are great examples of how this Supreme Court ruling will dictate the future of hiring practices, or as you mentioned, government contracts. That's a great example that I don't think a lot of people think about, but we've seen it time and time again where, individuals that are a minority owned business or a woman owned business get like more points towards the idea of being hired for something. And so if someone does feel like they have been discriminated against, one of the things that we've talked about at length is the importance of recognizing that Liberty Justice Center will represent them pro bono, right? You just have to be willing to tell your story and be an advocate for defending constitutional rights. And Liberty Justice Center kind of does all the heavy lifting. Can you talk through that process? If there is someone who's watching that feels like, I think I have a story to tell, I think that I am, in a position to work with an organization like Liberty Justice Center, but it seems very daunting. Walk through that process.
Well, if you want to explore this with us, the first thing you can do is go to our website and you can learn what we're all about if you don't already know. And then there's a form there to contact us, and you can tell us what kind of issue you have. If you can give a good detailed description of the situation, that'll help us evaluate whether it's something we might be able to help you with. And we'll let you know one way or the other by email if we can't do it, or if we think we might be able to do something for you. And then we, of course, talk with you on the phone, ask more questions, and find out whether this is something we would be able to help with. And of course, our resources are limited. We can't help everybody in every situation, but we do want to do everything we can to make the most of this great Supreme Court decision. So we want to hear from as many people as possible who are facing these kinds of situations. And so if it did turn out that somebody's situation was the right fit for us, we represent all of our clients absolutely free of charge. Not only do we not charge fees, but we cover all litigation expenses. And then we guide our clients through the process too. We make sure that they're ready for what's going to happen in the course of the lawsuit. They're ready if the media would give them any attention. We, together with you, to help take care of that for them, so that it's as easy as possible for them. And typically, this kind of lawsuit, fortunately, doesn't even require that much work from the client. Typically, we go in and make our legal arguments, and that's most of the case. Sometimes it could be a little more where the client has to give some evidence or maybe testify at something. But so often these things are just a question of, well, is what the government's doing here against the Constitution or not? You often don't need a lot of evidence for that. Again, to sum it up, we represent our clients for free, and we try to make this process as easy as possible. And I would encourage people to contact us in case we might be able to help.
Yes. And once again, that's a reminder that just because we have a favorable ruling from the Supreme Court, the work is not yet done. So Liberty Justice Center exists to continue to make sure that the laws are upheld, and that if your constitutional rights are being violated, they want to come alongside you and support you in defending those rights. So this is just the beginning of this next step with these letters being sent to medical schools. There's a whole list of things that Liberty Justice Center is going to be doing to protect constitutional rights as it relates to this Supreme Court ruling. So we'll likely be back another week with an update on the fallout from the letters, or where we are after the letters have been read by medical schools, and this story's gotten out to individuals who are going through that admissions process in one way or another. So please do continue to follow us each week on our Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn page for our weekly case updates. And as Jacob mentioned, you can always visit us right there at the bottom of your screen, libertyjusticecenter.org. And we will be back next week with another case update. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.